Good morning. The title of the devotional is this morning, You Mean Rechargeable? Well, Permacell rechargeable nickel cadmium battery. That's the information on the front of the small cylindrical device that I hold in my hand. Rechargeable, that's an interesting feature. When all of the energy and power have been used up, this battery can be re-energized and repowered. How wonderful an idea. But no more magnificent than what has been done for us in the creative wisdom of God. Jeremiah hears God say to him, "For I will satisfy the weary soul, and every languishing soul I will replenish." And then he writes, "Thereupon I awoke and looked, and my sleep was pleasant for me." Thank God for rest and sleep and recuperating slumber. Sleep is the recharging procedure for the human body. You know that as well as I. The mattress manufacturers and those who sell them will tell you that this mattress will give you a recharge. May not use the same terms, but they're talking about the same thing. Shakespeare writes, "O sleep, O gentle sleep, nature's soft nurse." But what about the recharging of the mind? Will the mind wind down, thinking of the same thoughts day after day, year after year, without some recharging? Can it become such a creature of habit and tradition, accepting the direction and evaluation of others, too lazy to investigate, to research for itself, unwilling to take the road less traveled by? I remember reading an issue of Christian Century, one of the foremost publications in the field of Christianity, Christian thought, and contemporary concerns for the church. An article entitled "The Reshaping of Work" spurred my thinking into a whole new area of consideration. My mental battery got a needed shot in the arm. But what about our spirits? Is it possible to allow our soul and spirit to say to itself, "Soul, take your ease"? Thank God that there are ways of getting our spiritual batteries recharged. Isaiah declares the Lord is ready. He writes, "They who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." From Isaiah 40. Spiritual recharging. Have you ever thought about that? When I read the Gospels and am aware, I notice that Jesus chose to renew and recharge his spirit occasionally for times with special moments, special opportunities with God. Mark 1:35 reads, "In the morning, while it was still very dark, he got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed." Matthew notes a similar instance in chapter 14. Immediately, he made the disciples get out into the boat and go around to the other side. He went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. What was Jesus doing? Well, he was recharging his spiritual battery, if you will. If you need some spiritual recharging, let me invite you to this practice. Beth and I had a very special way of praying the Lord's Prayer, which I have continued to use, and I use each night. During those difficult days of her illness, when she was having trouble remembering some things, we would pray the Lord's Prayer this way. I would say a phrase of the prayer, and she would repeat it. And we would go through the entire prayer, phrase after phrase, my saying the phrase and her repeating it as just as an echo almost. When the prayer is said out loud, there is a special dynamic which takes place. And of course, this was particularly true with Beth and me. Now, I say the phrases and I repeat it to myself in the same manner as I did with Beth for a long time. I encourage you to use the words and phrases of the Lord's Prayer as an avenue of recharging your spiritual battery. You will be surprised at the power of the prayer and the process. And by the way, if you have difficulty with one of the phrases in the Lord's Prayer, I do have. It's the one that says, lead me not into temptation. And I've had some difficulty with that because I really don't picture that God or Jesus leads me into temptation. So I have changed that a little bit for my own use, and I just share it with you. I say, guide me away from temptation and deliver me from evil. Now, you can use it if it would be meaningful and helpful. How many persons have been renewed in their spirit through a season of prayer? To come into the presence of God is to receive some new power and to feel His presence. It is to take advantage of the opportunity of recharging your spiritual battery. One of the best ways of translating the Greek word paraclete, translated comforter or counselor in John 14, is to read the word as enabler or helper. And if you're praying and have difficulty, ask God to help you to pray. And what about the worship of God? One person said worship is like coming into a filling station and having your battery recharged and getting a full tank of fresh, new gasoline. I kind of like that. And now that we have electric cars, the symbolism and the analogy is even more fun to think about and a little more specific. Rechargeable. Yes, you are rechargeable. Physically, yes, by sleep. Mentally, yes, by study. Spiritually, yes, by reading the Gospels, and especially by prayer. How neat of our Creator to put us together in such a wonderful, rechargeable way. But then, God has done so many wonderful and magnificent things for us, hasn't He? Right? Very right.